Some of the strongest people you know are quietly exhausted. Think about that carefully. The people who encourage everyone else. The people who always appear calm. The people others depend on constantly. Many of them are carrying silent battles nobody fully sees. And maybe that surprises people because strength is often misunderstood. Humans usually define strength externally. Confidence, composure, independence, success, the ability to keep functioning under pressure. But outward strength does not always reflect internal peace. Some people become experts at appearing okay while struggling deeply inside. And maybe modern culture unintentionally rewards that behavior. People are praised for pushing through pain, staying productive, remaining available for everyone else, never slowing down, never showing weakness. But eventually, constantly carrying emotional weight without release creates exhaustion. And many strong people suffer silently because they believe they are supposed to. Think about that carefully. Some people became emotionally strong because life forced them to survive difficult seasons early. Pain taught them independence. Disappointment taught them self-protection. Responsibility taught them to suppress emotion. And over time, they learned something dangerous: people expect me to stay strong. So they continue carrying burdens privately. They help everyone else, support everyone else, encourage everyone else, while quietly neglecting their own emotional health. And maybe that is why some strong people secretly feel lonely. Because people admire their strength without noticing their exhaustion. Now think carefully about scripture. Many strong people in the Bible struggled internally too. Think about Elijah. He experienced extraordinary victory publicly, yet shortly afterward, he collapsed emotionally. Fear overwhelmed him. Exhaustion overwhelmed him. Discouragement overwhelmed him. Think about that carefully. A spiritually powerful moment did not prevent emotional burnout afterward. That changes how people should view strength entirely. Because even faithful people become tired. Even courageous people feel overwhelmed. Even leaders experience emotional struggle. Yet many people still feel ashamed admitting that. Why? Because humans fear appearing weak. Especially people others depend on. Now think about David. A warrior. A king. A leader. Yet many psalms reveal deep emotional struggle. Fear. Grief. Loneliness. Anxiety. David prayed honestly about internal pain. That matters. Because modern culture often teaches people to hide emotional struggle instead of processing it honestly. Especially men. Especially leaders. Especially strong personalities. Many people silently believe, if I stop being strong, everything will fall apart. So they continue carrying impossible emotional weight alone. And eventually, the soul begins to show signs of exhaustion. Now think about something important. Strong people often struggle asking for help. Think about that carefully. People become so accustomed to supporting others that receiving support begins feeling uncomfortable. They fear burdening people. They fear appearing vulnerable. They fear disappointing expectations. So instead of speaking honestly, they isolate quietly. And isolation intensifies emotional struggle. Many people surrounded by others still feel deeply alone internally. Not because nobody exists around them, but because few people truly know what they are carrying emotionally. Now consider another difficult truth. Strong people often attract people who only appreciate what they provide. Their wisdom, their support, their stability, their reliability. But rarely ask, who supports the strong person? That question matters. Because constantly pouring into others without receiving renewal eventually creates emotional depletion. Even healthy souls require rest, encouragement, care, support. Humans were never designed to endlessly carry everyone else's burdens while ignoring their own humanity. Now think carefully about Jesus. Even he withdrew from crowds regularly. Think about that carefully. The Son of God still stepped away from pressure, away from demands, away from constant expectation. Why? Because rest matters. Solitude matters. Renewal matters. And perhaps many people today are emotionally exhausted because they never allow themselves space to recover. They confuse constant availability with purpose. But being constantly needed is not the same as being emotionally healthy. Now let's talk about hidden pain. Many strong people become skilled at masking emotional exhaustion. They smile while struggling, work while grieving, encourage others while privately discouraged themselves. And because they continue functioning externally, people assume they are okay internally. But functionality does not always equal peace. Some people survive publicly while suffering privately. And maybe someone listening understands that feeling deeply. Maybe people constantly describe you as strong, reliable, resilient. Yet internally, you feel exhausted carrying expectations nobody fully sees. If so, remember this. Strength does not mean invulnerability. You are still human. You still need rest. You still need support. You still need safe places to process emotion honestly. Now consider this. Some strong people fear slowing down because silence forces them to confront buried pain. Think about that carefully. Busyness can become emotional distraction. Helping others can become emotional avoidance. Constant productivity can become a way to avoid confronting internal exhaustion. But eventually, buried emotions surface. And ignoring emotional pain never truly heals it. Healing requires honesty. Now let's address another important truth. God never asked people to pretend they were emotionally unaffected. Scripture repeatedly shows people expressing grief, fear, discouragement, confusion. Even Jesus wept. That matters deeply. Because vulnerability is not weakness. Honesty is not weakness. Acknowledging exhaustion is not weakness. Sometimes honesty becomes the beginning of healing. Now think carefully about why strong people secretly struggle. Often because they believe nobody notices their pain. Nobody asks how they are really doing. Nobody sees beyond the role they constantly perform for others. But behind many strong personalities exists a human being quietly longing for rest, understanding, and peace. And maybe the strongest people are not those who never struggle emotionally. Maybe the strongest people are those who continue moving forward while carrying invisible weight others never fully understand. Now perhaps, someone listening feels emotionally exhausted right now. If so, remember this. You do not need to carry every burden alone. You do not need to constantly perform strength for everyone around you. And needing support does not make you weak. It makes you human. Because even strong people require healing too. So the real question is not, Why am I struggling if I'm strong? Maybe the real question is, how long have I been carrying more than I was ever meant to carry alone? Think about that carefully. Because some of the strongest people secretly struggle the most. And perhaps healing begins the moment they finally stop pretending they are unaffected. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to Grace Unseen for more hope-filled biblical truths, emotional healing, and deeper wisdom from Scripture. And before you go, leave a comment below. Have you ever felt pressured to stay strong even while struggling internally? Your story may encourage someone else who feels emotionally exhausted right now.